Oh, hello, Svitlana.
Hello, Arne.
That is nice to see you. And I'm seeing a chessboard. What does this mean? We're going to learn something about chess. Do you have some smart moves for us today?
I do. It's
Nice.
going to be a bit different episode because I wanted to show some of my games that I played last weekend at the Canadian
Oh,
University Championships.
and we didn't even talk about this for a second. So, did it go well? Or will you
Yeah,
keep it a secret? Okay, yeah.
yeah, it was good. It was a team tournament between universities, and it's an annual tradition.
Okay.
So I go to University of Ottawa, and it was our club that hosted the event this year. So it was my first experience with not only playing, but also with organizing a bit, which
Mm-hmm.
was so much more difficult than playing,
Oh,
to be honest.
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That I can imagine. But
Yeah.
everything worked out well.
Yeah. I played some good games, and I finished with 4 out of 5, and I won the women's prize.
Congratulations.
Thank
Well,
you.
there we go. And you didn't even, I mean, that I just have to say, you're humble enough to not even mention this, but you basically had little to no time to really practice chess in the last, let's say, not even weeks, but months. So it was really tough. And you still
Yeah,
managed
since the
to,
Olympiad.
yeah,
Since the Olympiad, I didn't really play classical chess at all.
so well done. It's just in your blood, it seems. Yeah, okay. So let's. I'm very curious. I'm also very curious what you have played as openings.
Yeah. The openings are actually probably the main part here, which I thought went really well. So my first game that I wanted to show was against the current Canadian men's champion that was playing in our tournament, and he was playing on the Waterloo team. There
Hmm.
were there's some universities where there's a lot of chess players, for example, like computer science programs that are really strong at these, and all the chess players go to these universities. And well, Waterloo is one of those universities, so they were the top seeded team in our event.
All right. Oh wait, you were black, obviously. Yes.
I was playing as black, and the game started
Understand.
with yeah, I played a lot of things against d4 and in general, and this time I wanted to experiment once again with something that I've shown in a previous episode too. I
Hmm.
played the move h6 here. Do you remember this one?
Yes, I remember that one. That is so. It. I think it is really particularly annoying if you are white and you just want to. You just need to get this bishop to g5 because it is such a common setup. And you wait a second, that's not working anymore. Oh, yeah,
Right,
nice.
exactly. Um, so the goal of this move is to avoid this line. So this is the more normal line of this variation is bishop g5.
Hmm.
And these are very typical position. They've been played thousands of times. And well, I just think they're pretty pleasant for white. And so I try to avoid it by playing this move h6. And this line has been getting like more popular,
Because of you.
um, of course, because I played it twice, so now
Yes, that's
everybody,
everybody's like, my goodness, she's
yeah.
so she knows what she's talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, but I really like it, and I think it's really unpleasant as the player with white,
Hmm.
exactly like you said. So, but of course, it's a bit of a slow move.
Sure, it has
So
some
the in
flaws as
opening
well.
you, yeah, but it's still like so
It's
far it
valid.
worked. It worked amazing, even against like I've only played against like stronger players than me,
Hmm.
and they're surprised every time. You even if they play this opening their whole life, they're surprised every time.
How do you see it on the board when they go like oh oh oh, oh or something like
It's it's mostly they just like think for 5 minutes or 3 minutes, something that's untypical for them in the opening.
gotcha.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was just a bit silly. Sorry for that. Okay.
no, it's funny. So now the bishop has to go to f4, which is what my opponent did.
Hmm.
As white, they can also go for a different sort of setup. So if they're a Catalan player, for example, then this setup maybe will not affect them much because they wanted to go for this Catalan setup instead anyways. But for that, we also have our own ideas, and we can play it this way. Also a bit unusual, but I like it, with the idea of e5. So that's what you would do against this setup for white. But most players are not Catalan players, and they go for these bishop g5 setups instead. And so the bishop had to go here.
Which goes into London territory again, briefly.
A bit, yeah. But not quite the London, because in the London
Gambit,
we don't do the pawn break.
Yeah.
So yeah. And in this case, our bishops got traded.
Very good.
So already I was pretty happy with what happened out of the opening. And here I played a6, which I was sure that it was like some sort of theory, but it wasn't. that happens to me.
And your opponent again.
No, and my opponent started thinking again, and I didn't know if it was just me or if it was them. So yeah, of course, the more normal move is just castles. So a6 is a bit slow, and my idea was just to take and then play b5. That was my idea with a6, and I thought that was typical for these positions. But then my opponent played c5 here. Do you think this is a good positional decision for white?
Well, if I would be black, I wouldn't like it, and I probably am one of those players who does it as white. But having said that, normally it turns out that my position is bad after something like that. So I would say it's not a good decision to play this move.
Well, in this particular case, it actually is. And it really depends on the development of the two pieces. It's not like that clear cut usually, so don't worry. It depends on the development. So if this pawn chain can get attacked quickly with b6 and like a5, these ideas, then it wasn't a good decision for white, and then they'll like suffer because of it. But in this case, I'm a bit like behind in development, and my position is getting a bit more cramped up. So this is the consequence of my a6 move. So in this case, it's not. It was a good positional decision for white, and they can press a bit more because of more space, because I don't have that many good pawn breaks like that.
I understand. Okay, it makes sense.
So what do you think the plan would be after this knight e5? This is what happened in the game, and here was the first time when I thought for a little while to come up with the next plan.
This time you were like, oh! But I think it's normally when I have a similar position like this as black, they want to establish the knight on e5 with a move like f4, for example. So even if the knight gets swapped, then they just have like very strong center.
Exactly. That's white's plan. We found white's plan, but what is black's plan?
Oh, okay. Did you ask that, or?
Well, I'm playing as black. Yeah.
I really thought you said, what do you think is white's plan here? Okay, so what is black's plan here? Well, I think a good idea would be, well, I would love to get rid of this knight, but how? Maybe, I mean, we cannot play f6 very easily. It requires too much work and struggle, I think. So what could we do instead? Maybe we could just castle. And then we can try to attack the pawn chain. Maybe we should do this earlier since you mentioned this. That's another idea with b6. Well, I don't know what black's plan is.
Well, you mentioned a lot of good ones, and I considered all of them in this position. And so the first one, as you said, b6 immediately. Of course, that's the first thing that comes to mind when you see a pawn chain like that, is you want to attack it and trade it off. But in this case, this is why this knight e5 was so strong, is that if we do it, white is going to play c6, and suddenly none of these pieces can ever get developed, and it's just it just looks really, really bad for black, and it's actually probably just even winning for white in terms of evaluation. And you cannot really play something. Well, you can play something passive either. So, for example, just developing and playing this way is possible, and that's probably like the most likely course of action. But then I feel like it's only white who's having an attack and having initiative, while this bishop just is just horrible, and it's looking like white has a lot more to play for here. So instead of that, I decided to go for a bit of a different plan, and I played knight to d7.
I even considered that too, but it looks like it looks funky, but maybe it does make sense, right? Yeah.
It does look funky, and it's a bit delaying my development. But as you mentioned, the plan of f6, I thought that plan was more important than like my other piece development, because I needed to get rid of this knight and do something more useful in the center.
Yeah.
So a couple of moves later, I did end up playing f6.
Oh, that is keen. So I would have been worried because of the queen on h5 now and the rook on f1. The white diagonal or the white squares look powerful. It's the first time I'm saying something like this. Maybe the training pays off after all, after 2 years.
For sure. These the light squares are the main feature of the position. And of course, it was a concern of mine as well. But eventually I decided to go for this because so far white's pieces are not really near my king. And if they don't get there, for now I should be fine. So there wasn't really a tactical way that I saw that white could attack me there. So an interesting line could arise if white had castled. So white didn't castle. My opponent took.
Well, that's good
but
for
if
you,
they
I
had
guess,
castled, I wanted to show a line because you mentioned these light squares. So at this point, what do you think happens if black takes? Do you think it's fine, we want a pawn, or we're losing?
Hard to tell. Well, I have the feeling that white would get an advantage because... So the first thing I'm always looking at is queen h5, queen g6. I'm not sure how dangerous it is. And I would almost even consider giving a knight away on e4 to get that, maybe. Because it looks dangerous.
That's exactly the line that I wanted to show. That was cool. So instead of queen h5, though, queen g4.
Okay, which is doing the same almost, probably better even.
Yeah, and against e4, this move, white's all of pieces just start joining the game, and the knight gets sacrificed, and this is exactly what you said. It's a winning line because of these light squares, because of this knight sacrifice, and there's no really defense against this mate here. Not really a good defense.
Feel good, yeah.
Yeah, so you felt the details of this position very well. So, of course, after castles, I don't know if I would take, but it looks very dangerous to do that.
You would probably push to f5, maybe even.
So so instead, this happened, and I took back with the queen. And my opponent here played a really, really surprising move. Do you want to guess what he did?
Okay, so a surprising move.
Yeah.
What could that be? Let me see. What would surprise me? Castling, short. That would be a surprise.
that would definitely be a surprise.
So naturally, there's a lot of natural moves. Well, probably some. Okay, so how? Oh no, that's not working. So first of all, there's a mate threat.
Yeah, mate in one, but I feel like the Canadian champion is not going to fall for it, unfortunately.
You played against the Canadian champion.
Yeah.
My goodness. Okay. So they aren't going to fall for that. Pity. Then, rook f1?
Rook f1 is very natural, yeah. Then I have this check.
True, that's not good.
No, it's all right, but yes, it's one of the more normal moves, one of the more expected.
I don't see like the surprise.
The unexpected? Move. I'll show you. It's king d2.
That is surprising, yeah. I could
So
have
that's
guessed
what he
that.
played. I didn't even consider it, but the more I thought about it, the more I was like, yeah, it made sense, and the king is pretty safe. So, of course, he's trying to avoid all the checks and artificially castle long.
Yeah. That's actually,
And
yeah. Cool.
and because I'm not developed, so all of these pieces are a problem. Because of that, White can't allow themselves to do this for a little while.
Hmm. Yeah,
Me
getting the
too.
queen away is good because there's still this rook f1, which is unpleasant. I think, yeah,
Exactly. So
wouldn't
that's why
help.
my queen went to g5 to attack
Hmm.
more things. And this at this point, I really needed to develop these pieces, and I should have
Hmm.
done it right away. But I thought that I didn't want this bishop to be forever a bad piece, and so I went for a central move like e5. Maybe it was not the best
I
plan,
like it.
but it was one of the things that I needed to do eventually.
It's very disrupting, and it actually h4
But it creates a
nasty.
lot of weaknesses. So yeah,
Yeah.
h4, queen g3. That was actually another reason why I played this, so that there is never any rook h3, so
Oh,
that my bishop protects it.
that is so cool. And there's another huge threat, of course.
Yeah, so this is what happened in the game. So yeah, of course the none of these pawns can really. So this is of course one of the main lines to look at, because I am sacrificing a lot of material here. And after capturing knight c7, there's a lot of lines to look at, and the best one is going to be bishop g4,
Okay.
and then black has more threats with taking here and putting the rook onto f2.
So, oh yeah, okay, yeah. Well, where does the queen even go? There's only one spot. It's e1. There's no other spot.
Yeah,
No other
actually.
square.
Yeah, and this line is better,
Oh,
is even better than taking here immediately, because now our bishop isn't really
okay.
part of the attack, and now white kind of has more of a defense.
Mm-hmm.
But in this case, this is kind of an improvement that we just found, is that there's no more bishop e2
Yeah.
same way.
Okay,
So
okay. Do you
so
take?
this is why white cannot really be greedy here and go for the rook, because the king could even be in danger if they spend too much time like this.
Yeah, the queen cannot take back, so the king would have to go. Yeah, that's crushing.
Yeah.
Nice.
So anyways, in the game, my opponent didn't take it and played h4. Queen went here and rook to f1. So far everything made sense, and once again I do have a problem with my pieces not being developed yet, so I try to do that as quickly as possible.
Can I
Um,
quickly ask
yeah.
something? So, the pieces. I wanted to ask this earlier, but I'm wrong, and I think you can explain it too. But just for you at home, maybe if you're listening and if this is interesting for you, is so there are two pieces not developed yet. Is it a little bit a part of the moves h6, a6? But then again,
Mhm.
you probably cannot say it because without those moves, it wouldn't have ever come to this position after all, right?
I think I think it's the problem of the moves knight f to d7 and f6. So
Yeah,
this plan, it
gotcha.
was intentionally to take a bit more control of the center, but I sacrificed my development a bit for it.
Understand. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think it's part of the h6, but a6 it was the mistake.
Hmm.
But h6 is just one move, and it wouldn't have had such an effect.
Gotcha.
But for sure, white now in this position with my e5 move, which was a bit questionable but practical. After this, white is better, and there was something that they missed. So I play bishop e6 to finally get it developed
Ah,
and to defend the center.
yeah.
But I wanted to ask you, what tactic would have happened if I had played bishop
I
g4?
was just about to ask this, and now I can see it. So,
Yeah,
it is so it has to do something with h7, f8, rook to f8, and
kind
stuff
of.
like that. So
Yeah.
what is really going on here? How to There must be... No,
Yeah.
that's actually not working.
Well, the rook is helping, the bishop is helping, but it's not about these two.
Yeah. Okay, for you at home, is it the knight on d5?
Exactly.
Gee, it's so brutal.
This
How amazing.
and this wins.
That is
This would have been an amazing tactic. And
amazing.
the thing is, I considered bishop g4 for so long. And the reason why I didn't go for it was not that, was just queen f2, and I didn't like the endgame. So I rejected it for a different reason.
Oh my
But
goodness. Yeah, good you know a little bit about chess, because that helped you after all. Although you didn't immediately see this crazy tactic, to be honest. You knew about your endgame and how you like it or not, and this helped you after all prevent this.
it was a lucky coincidence. Yeah, but
Crazy.
this would have been a really nice finish to it. I probably would still show the game, but it would just be
Yeah. So
more on the embarrassing side of it.
I understand completely, which is, yeah, then again, it is beautiful. So is there any other way I need to know now? After knight takes on d5, what can you play instead of taking the queen? Is this like...
Nothing. It's lost. It's just bad.
It's just bad
Like,
because you're losing at
protect,
least 2 pawns, right?
yeah, you can protect the knight e7, but it's just gonna be lost.
Wow.
Because I'm losing pawns in the center.
Yeah,
So,
I understand. And the next move would be the queen to f2, as you mentioned already. So yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Luckily, I played bishop e6, and none of that happened.
And he was like, it was such a good plan.
But white had a different plan for the initiative, which could have given them a very, very good winning chances. What do you think could be the move for white?
Here, now?
Yeah. I'm not sure if my opponent... I think my opponent calculated it, but maybe something... It was a bit too tactical to really make a good decision about it. Oh. But I think it's possible to at least see what it could be.
Huh, okay.
Yeah. So remember that
for me in mind is coming rook f3 and then queen f1, but it's too slow because the knight is coming to c6.
Yeah. So it really has to be something immediate, because I'm not... It needs to be before my knight and rook get into the game.
Okay, is it knight e4?
No, it's not knight e4.
Which is quite fancy. Knight e4,
true.
Bishop c4 is
okay.
Quite well. Actually, it's quite interesting.
I understand the point, but But I feel like there's not gonna be a checkmate. So like I can hide somewhere on h7 at the very least.
Can you? Okay, I will trust you with that. Yes. So, Now, okay, what? I don't see it yet. I don't want to delay this. We want to see another game of yours after this, right? So
yeah, I have one short one after that.
Okay.
And so e4 happened instead. Not happened. It's what should have happened.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah. So e4 would have been a really amazing, once again, set of tactics.
I think I never would have guessed that. Seriously, not.
But I saw it, but I wasn't sure. I didn't love it, but I didn't think it was that good, but it really was. And the reason is, so if let's say I take this pawn, then white takes like that. And
Are you sure?
The queen, yeah, why not? And then the queen is going to join.
Check.
Yeah, so that is true, but then I will take back. How do I take back? Like this? And then, am I not getting...
Can we just put the bishop to f7?
We can.
Oh, then it's bishop h7.
Bishop h7 too, but queen here bothered me too.
Oh, goodness. There's no way to protect this. There's
this and this.
Bishop takes d5. No, that's over. Game over.
But mate.
Checkmate, yeah.
Yep.
But mate. But wait,
so this
there's mates.
Looks quite dangerous.
It's over.
Yeah. I'm trying to check everything. I don't see.
Nothing.
Yeah, I
That's
don't see anything
crazy.
either.
Okay, well,
Because
that's
the rook
rough.
cannot join, nobody can join. So this was, this is why this e4 move was so hard to make. Well, and of course, if I take this, then the queen joins the attack, and
Sure.
that's really not
Wow,
great. So
so
probably,
dangerous.
probably I have to do this and go for something like that,
Oof.
and go for a rook
Rook
against
takes, yeah? Yeah.
rook and
Oof, 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 oof.
against two pieces, which doesn't really look like the best outcome, right?
No, that looks great for white.
Yeah, but I think there was definitely this line that prevented like my opponent from playing it. Probably saw that knight is getting taken with check,
Exactly, and then you don't,
and that's it.
then you stop calculating, like me.
Yeah,
Then you're like, huh? No, there's nothing. My goodness.
yeah,
Is
yeah.
this
So
really so, it's unbelievable.
so
That's
e4 would
actually
have been
crazy. I really like this tactic.
yeah. Yeah, it's I also well I wouldn't have liked to see it on the board, but it is good to analyze when it didn't happen. Instead, he went for an endgame with queen f2,
Hmm.
and the endgame is kind of a bit even like there's a bit less to explain there because I just was trying to survive with finishing my piece development,
Mm-hmm.
and I should have just closed the game off with e4 and played an equal endgame, but instead I allowed this weird like bind on my king with bishop g6,
Oh, that is
which
nasty.
yeah, I didn't like I underestimated it at first, but then as like the game went on, I kind of realized that my king actually can never really escape. So white played also really good move with h5
Yeah,
and
that's
to
what I
just lock
saw,
it
yeah.
in. And this bishop is just going to forever keep my king here in the corner.
That's not okay.
That's not okay. So in case I take, the rook can join and just take all of my pawns
Oh,
there.
goodness.
But instead, I went for like on a different side of the board.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not, of course, it looks bad with my king there, but I wasn't going to really like give up because white also needs to find like a winning plan, not just lock
Sure.
the king in and it's
Has
over.
to prove it.
So I played on and tried to create my own counter chances. So I took the pawn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well,
In the
that's...
endgames, would you rather be on the side with like an extra pawn or on the side with initiative?
well, you're asking the right one, I guess.
Mhm.
But I'm skeptical if I can hold the d5 pawn, and I like the initiative. Well, I guess it's easier to play with the initiative, but it's probably better for black.
It's a bit better for white just because of this king. Not because, but yeah, the pawn. And if you, because white is going to probably win one of the pawns back. So that's why.
Wow.
But I was okay with my position at this point. Because I got my pawn and I like material a lot. So it was a bit more calm. So now the rook made a little tactic for my opponent, which he didn't fall for.
Oh, I just thought like
That would have been nice. But instead, I'll just show how we maneuvered a bit. It wasn't. It was just kind of a slow game, and we were getting to like 1 minute each. So all of these moves are going to start to
How
be
old
the
is
first
your
instinct.
opponent? This roughly?
He's a university student, so this was the
Of course.
university championship.
Yeah. Sorry. Okay, so they're all a bit faster.
Yeah, so it's not old grandpas that I can flag. And eventually, I think my opponent got quite disappointed that it ended up being a repetition. Do you think he should take the draw?
What? Wait, do I miss something? Or yeah, because there's a pawn hanging too. I don't... Well, if you take the pawn on g4 and
You want to take this one?
yeah, but then he takes, and then the
Takes
a
here.
pawn is too powerful, right?
Yeah.
No, okay, I understand. Well,
So
I
should
might have.
white?
Well, I would have taken the draw against you.
Yeah. Well, he decided not to because I think he felt like he was better and like he missed his like chance a bit with
Yeah, this psychology, a fascinating subject.
yeah. And he just went for king c5,
Mm-hmm.
and that allowed my pawn to run away.
Oh
And
no.
he had to sacrifice. So I ended up winning
Oh
it just by the end,
no.
which I mean it wasn't
You
really
little Carlson, you.
of course. So yeah, it wasn't really like, a domination from the start and then they won in the end game. It was more I was defending the whole game, and
Mhm.
then at the end I got this one chance to push my pawn forward,
Well
and it
done.
worked out.
Well
So
done. So cool.
so I thought there were a lot of interesting moments, especially in the middle game of it,
Mhm.
with all the tactics. So it was more from the opponent's side that I thought it was interesting from White's side. So we
Certainly.
saw a bit of those. So can we see one more quick
Yes,
game?
please. I'm enjoying
Hey, it
this
was a very
big
short
time.
one.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm almost sad that it's maybe we can make a second part. But yeah, it's okay.
No, no, this one is short. It's
Okay,
quite
okay.
short.
No, but no, I mean, like, if you have more games, I'm enjoying this big time. How? Because of course, you analyzed your own games very well, and you know about them, your plans, your ideas, the opponent ideas, stuff like that. It's pretty interesting, I have to say. Okay.
Oh, thank you. I always think that like my games are not quality enough to like teach off of them.
It's actually no. It's because you're a good teacher. Let's just say it like that, right? So you're explaining it really really well. I mean, the comments tell the exact story. Thanks for all your lovely comments all the time. That's really very nice. Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, you're black again. My goodness. No, you're white
No,
this
I was
time.
playing white.
Okay.
I was playing white. So actually on this day, this was the games on the same day. So we
Phew.
had 3 rounds on that Saturday. So it was a very it was a
My
very packed day. This was the
goodness.
second game. So there was no time to prepare. And when you have no time to prepare, what do you think I play as white?
The Bon Cloud. No,
That would have been that's not really my style, you know. When I
no.
have no time, it's gonna be a London.
Nice. Okay, I gotcha.
And well, this time we were playing against Team Manitoba, so it was not as strong as of an opponent as Team Waterloo. So that first guy he was an IM, but this one he was still at 2200, so it was like it was gonna be a competitive
Tough.
match.
Sure.
A Canadian rating, so same, approximately same as mine.
Canadian rating. You said it like it's the Canadian dollar compared to the US dollar.
It is the Canadian dollar compared to the US dollar, exactly.
That's so funny. Anyway, yeah, okay.
But yeah, I just didn't want to give a false advertisement, but my opponent was still like a strong opponent, and I haven't played against him before, so it was gonna be like a good match, and it was a very natural opening because I got to pick the London system. And I think my opponent just really didn't get what he wanted out of the start, which it
Which
didn't
was
really.
not a London.
Oh, it was London.
No, I mean he didn't want a London. That's what.
Yeah, maybe not. I'm not sure. But
Okay, so far everything looks good.
so far everything looks normal. It looks like a
Even that is
London.
a move you can play.
Yeah. And I did the episode on London, right?
Oh yeah.
A while ago.
Yeah, please check it
I
out.
really like it.
If you like the London system as much as Svitlana, check out our older episode. Search on YouTube, Svitlana London. Let's see what.
Let's see what comes.
Maybe not. I don't know. Let's see. I'm curious what will happen. Maybe Svitlana Chess London. That should work.
Yeah. So, one of the main plans of the London is, of course, to get the knight to e5 and to start a bit of a kingside attack. But this game was a bit different, and I'll show you what happened. So far, black goes for the most typical, I would say, setup that I see very often with d4, d5 players.
Yep.
And what do you think white's next plan is?
h4.
h4? You're all for the attack.
Yes.
Well, I know you like it, but I'm a bit concerned about the pawns.
Yeah, it might be a bit stupid. Okay, so the plan is to attack. Nonetheless, let's attack somehow. How about h4? How about can we break through on e4 yet? We could.
Exactly.
Yeah, we could.
We can. So, so e4, it looks, at least to me, somebody who likes king safety, it looks like it's a bit too early to go for it. But it was a line that I knew, so I didn't really have time to know what this opponent really plays. But the one line that I can check when I'm preparing the London is like the most typical one, and it's this one. It's one of the most critical lines of the London. So I was lucky to know the theory here that e4 is the move here. Otherwise, normal plans are like knight e5 and just castles. This is more or less typical London positions. But e4 is going a bit against the normal like London principles of a slow game, and it's right away starting tactics in the center, which I like. So at this point, you'll probably be surprised that Black's best move is to play bishop e7.
Yeah, that is a big surprise. What the heck?
Yeah, so it's just to
Crazy.
make sure there's no e5 with a fork.
Yeah.
And then after that happens, you get to play something like f6, things like that. But there's a lot of tactics here where white can start playing crazy attacking moves like knight g5, and a lot of things are hanging. So this one is very ambiguous, and there's a lot of lines there. But that's the best that Black can do. Instead, he captured, which I think is probably the most natural if you don't know this position and you don't know the theory here.
Yeah, I guess so too.
But it leads to a very pleasant position, and you'll see that suddenly I have a lot of tactics to in my position. So queen a4 was a move I knew, so I didn't come up with it. And it attacks the knight, and it's starting to be unpleasant. So as Black, the best defense is to play rook c8, which was the only line that I knew, that just rook c8, and then I'll play something like rook d1 and keep going that way, and I have a good center. But he played knight a5, and from here on, I felt like something, like I could have something more, and that's because it's not the main move. You kind of know that maybe there's a reason why it's not the first line.
Okay.
So what would you play here for white? It doesn't have to be a tactic or anything.
What would you play for white at home? Well, can we not just take on b7 and go to c6 with our queen?
Well, we can, but then the knight, not the knight, but then I think Black can maybe take.
Okay. I would like that, because then I could open the H file.
Or maybe this instead, queen c8. Maybe this?
Yeah, that'll work too. I think it's not like a big advantage for white now.
Of course, yeah, it's not anything special for Black either, but it's just something that holds.
Okay, so what about... Well, there's still this bishop, which is... Oh, wait a second. I think I'm getting there. Okay, there's... I don't know, Svitlana.
I can tell you the first move.
Okay.
So instead of taking right away, you want to open the center. So you can have this move, which protects the bishop on e4 as well.
That's what I thought of. So bishop takes back. Well, actually, you do not even have to take back with the bishop, as I can see it. But bishop takes back.
Yeah, case. the bishop pretty much has to take back. And now, is there anything that we can take the initiative?
Well, rook d1 comes to mind.
For sure. That's what I played. This is how the game kept going.
Oh.
So,
Yeah, and by the way, yeah, there's of course b4, but before we play b4, we have to think what the consequences are.
for sure. And before looks like it's a fork, but the thing is we cannot do it until our bishop. We cannot really do it until our bishop is hanging on e4, and
True.
we cannot really trade it either because then the knight will go away and then there is no more fork.
Yeah.
So yeah, b4 was always an idea for later, but it wasn't just that immediate. So do you see white's ideas now? What white can do? For example, if queen e8, let's say.
Well, then we have to take on h7 now.
Exactly, you got it. You got
this is what I was looking for the whole time, but of course the queen was on d8, so the queen cannot go to h4. But now that
so this is
happen.
a classic sacrifice.
Beautiful.
And it would have been a very nice and quick mate very soon. So my opponent didn't play queen e8, but it was one of the ideas. So at this point, my opponent started thinking for a really long time, and I understand why, because on many things he plays, there's bishop h7.
That is a threat.
That is a threat. So, and if queen e7, then a rook joins with rook d7, and I win a piece on.
Goodness. So
you see, it's getting really tricky for the opponent to even have a normal move. On something like queen here, I can also make my bishop join either from this side or from this side, and it's just, I think, more on e5. And once again, it's just a very unpleasant thing to look at. So I expected queen e8, queen c8. This was what I expected all along, and I even found later that this was in my file. This was in a file, and the recommendation is bishop d3 with a better position for white. You keep the bishops and keep an attack going.
So, but now you have to explain why it's not working anymore with bishop h7, please.
Yeah, so since I didn't really know this, I was looking at bishop h7 in the game, and apparently this leads to equality, but it's a weird equality. It's not a perpetual, it's a weird equality. So I was calculating it and I was trying to make it work. I felt like there had to be something.
Yeah.
But there isn't because of rook d8.
Check, king goes there, check, king goes there, queen goes there.
This?
Yeah.
And then we're just attacked and there's no mate and there's and it's just unfortunate.
We're not winning a piece. So if we take on d8 with check.
Yeah. Not check.
No, because we gave away the bishop. That's why.
Yeah, we gave away
the whole reason. That b4 looks very, very good.
Right.
But of course, we're missing a piece.
We're missing a piece. So winning it back like this is not going to save us.
Funny.
So this doesn't work. And instead, I was even looking, maybe I would have even gone for this. I don't know. I was looking at castles and just keeping the tension. And now this is a bit more of a threat.
Yeah.
But it wasn't really clear because then I saw queen c6.
Oops.
And there's a mate threat. And it's just looking like black has, their own attack instead of just mine. And although it is equal, I don't really love it that much.
Understandable.
Because it just feels like the attack is not really there. So that's what I expected. I expected queen c8, and then I would have contemplated bishop h7 a bit and decided if I want to do that or not. But instead he played b5, which I think was a bit more of a counter-attacking attempt. So what do you think you would do now?
Take on h7 and get the queen to g4.
That's exactly what I did. I think you're reading my mind. But what happens if the king takes?
Well, we go to g4 with our queen, no?
Okay, well, in my game, I played queen g4 after this. But the reason why the king cannot take it was different.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay. Ah,
So the
queen c2 check.
yeah, it was sneaky.
Yes.
That there's a check and then I win the queen
I'm
on
only
the
looking to the right side the whole time and missed this.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So this was my idea with bishop h7. The reason why I cannot really do other things. So if I take the queen, then this is not really a good endgame to trade off and win no material. Queen b5 was also okay. I just thought it was a bit more risky, but it was okay to play. It was still winning for white.
Yeah, but if you have all those chances for this attack, it's like it would be sad to play that.
Yeah, then we have to trade off, and it would be I'm up a pawn would still be good, but I wanted more. I wanted bishop h7, and
rightfully so, very good.
And so the opponent didn't take because he saw queen c2, and we
this
went
would
for
be,
this
by
king
the way,
g4.
this would be the moment I would be surprised. Because normally when I'm calculating with my 1900, I'm thinking of, okay, the king takes, and then I'm recalculating it like 10 times, and then I'm like, all right, this is working. The queen goes to c2, and it's check. And then the king, then I play the move, and then the king would go to h8, and then it would go like, what? That's possible too? Oh no. But probably I would find queen g4 too.
Right.
Hopefully.
Yeah. So now there's the queen joining on the h file, and eventually I just won a second pawn and then won this endgame. So that's why I'm saying it was short, because there wasn't really, it was mostly the opening that I wanted to show, and this opening idea of e4 in the center immediately before, you know, that sometimes you can deviate from the normal London plan and play for this central attack. And of course, bishop h7 is a very typical sacrifice that that I was happy to use in my game. And well, I can show a bit of the rest, but that was pretty much it. It was just 2 pawns, which was a lot to sacrifice.
And your end game skills are definitely good enough to just convert.
So no, there wasn't really any problem.
So how is
here.
it? How do you feel like in a game like this, where you have this position with the pawns more? Are you like calm? Are you still alert? Or
I think it depends on my time. So if I'm also up on time, then I'm calm. But if I'm like, if I have only a couple of minutes left, then anything can happen. Then I can mess up, and it can I can blunder something. So there I think I'm nervous, but if I have enough time, then it's all good.
Well, fantastic. So in the end, Ottawa also got the first place, or how was that?
No. Oh, there was like a lot of really strong universities, so we're definitely not one of the top universities where the chess players go.
So was there even a grandmaster in one of the universities, or?
No, but we had a few IMs.
Wow.
Yeah, we had a few IMs and like a lot of titled players on like the first boards. But no, it ended up like the winner ended up being even a surprising like wasn't one of the top seeds. So Montreal won, and then Waterloo got second place, and Queens got third.
Okay.
I know you don't know these universities. They're more like for the North American.
I definitely know the names. I mean, Manitoba is rings a bell, and what? Yeah, I mean, what was the other one?
Which one?
Queens and
Queens. Yeah, well, everybody knows Queens because that's where Elon Musk went.
Sure, but wasn't there? You mentioned another one. I also knew that from
Montreal.
Montreal, of course. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So there were a lot of universities from these different cities, and
so cool.
Yeah, we still like as a team, we still like tried, and it was a really good experience for a lot of our players too, because we had like a lot of teams of beginners as well to like give them a first chess tournament that they've ever played in. So it was a really nice experience. It was a lot of work for our like club members to
Yeah.
organize this event, but it was really fun, and I was glad to play again after such a long break.
Well done, Svitlana. Thank you so much for those smart moves. We see each other soon again. Bye bye.